find the exact value of each expression. In part A, we have secant of tangent inverse negative 1 over 4. Okay, tangent inverse of negative 1 over 4, this will be an angle, and later we find secant of that angle, and we don't know, negative 1 over 4 is not a value for a standard angle, so let's say this theta, so let theta be tangent inverse of negative 1 over 4. Okay, that is same as, by definition, tangent theta equals negative 1 over 4. Tangent theta is 1 over 4. And by the way, this theta, for this range of tangent inverse, that theta is in between negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Okay, this theta should be in between negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, which is in fact, this is 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, or if you go clockwise, this is negative pi over 2. So the theta either in the fourth quadrant or in the first quadrant. It's like fourth quadrant. And now we draw a right triangle based on tangent theta equals 1 over 4. Okay, tangent is, sorry, negative 1 over 4. I forgot that negative part. Negative 1 over 4, and we know that tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, opposite B over adjacent A. And now tangent is negative, that means it should be in this fourth quadrant. Okay, everything is positive in the first quadrant, so theta is here, and draw a right triangle, always angle, right angle on x-axis, and this is adjacent, opposite, so negative 1 over 4, so negative can be regarded for the top or the bottom. So this is below the x-axis, so this is negative 1 over 4. Negative 1 over 4 is tangent theta. Okay, opposite over adjacent, and this is positive, so it can't be negative 4. So negative 1 over 4. Let's find this R or C. A square plus B square equals C square. So A square means adjacent 4 is square, 16, plus negative 1 is square, just positive 1, equals C square. This is 17. Take square root both sides, so square root of 17. So C equals square root of 17. This C or R is always positive. Okay, now we have all three sides, and by the way, we were supposed to find secant of this angle, and we assume that angle be theta, so this is pretty much secant theta, and that is from this triangle. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so this is hypotenuse over adjacent, so C over A. Okay, hypotenuse over adjacent, which is C is found root 17 over A is 4. Okay, final, root 17 over 4. Okay, let's do the same thing for part B. In part B, we do the similar thing. A sine inverse of 15 over 17. This will be an angle, and we find cosine of that angle value. So we let theta be sine inverse of 15 over 17. That is same as sine theta equals 15 over 17. Oh, it's positive, so it's in the first quadrant. And sine is opposite over adjacent, sorry, opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, this is opposite over hypotenuse. So we have in the first quadrant, that's theta, and this is opposite 15 over 17. Okay, opposite over hypotenuse. Now we are missing adjacent A, and we know that A square plus B square equals C square. A square plus 15 square, 225, is equal to 17 square. 289, subtract 225 from both sides, we get 4 and 6, 64. Okay, and now take the square root both sides, and then a is square root of 64 plus minus 8 is 8, because this is positive, everything positive in the first quadrant. Now we have all three sides, and by the way, the question was cosine of this sine inverse, and we assume that to be theta. So cosine of theta, okay, this is theta, and cosine of theta from this right triangle is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 8 over 17.